Hi, so welcome back to a very wet Real Auto Ranch. I'm Jonathan Malone McGrew and this is Real Auto Reports. Today we have our real comparison video on this 2015 Dodge Charger SXT Plus all-wheel drive. So this is going to be your V6 model. You cannot get the HEMI V8 anymore in the all-wheel drive. So we wanted to look back and compare this car to the 2013 models that we compared much ago back in the 2013 year. So a couple years ago, we took our 2013 RT all-wheel drive, well-optioned vehicle, basically the max package, black, pitch black, just like this V6 all-wheel drive today, and we compared it to a gray 2013 SXT Plus rear-wheel drive V6. Well, today we're comparing this new redesigned 2015, so it's the mid-cycle refresh basically, new front end, new back end, new gauge cluster. And so we want to talk about those things, and we're going to have to do it a little differently because of the weather conditions. So we're going to have to fade in and fade out here as I talk about the differences in the vehicles. So starting at the front here, we have the vehicles side by side in this view of the car, and what you're going to see from the front is that the 2013 Charger has a much pointier nose. The headlights are set back from the grill sticks out. You have your large and protruding Chrysler Cross basically right there, Dodge Cross on the front, and you have the chrome grille on our vehicle because we did not have the black top or the blackout package like we saw in 2013 SXT Plus model that we had. And so the vehicle next to it is our 15, also in pitch black, with the rally group, which also blacks out the grille. Notice as you look at the two cars, they have rounded the front end pretty significantly, soft radius curve, the nose cuts up onto the fenders, and you have the new hoop lights that in the front, if you will, or the kind of a D, kind of U light around that are your driving lights in this vehicle. You have still have that Dodge Cross in the front, but it's been compressed and made very thin and wide across the front of the car. No longer does the front nose protrude out, and no longer does the lower valence come to a point in the middle of the car. So as you're looking at this vehicle, it is a pretty drastic change for a mid-cycle refresh, and it has rounded off this vehicle pretty significantly. The way that the finish of the front end is pretty different from that perspective. Also notice in the insets of the hood, the 2013, so 12 to 14 basically, has the 1969, 1970 inset hood scoops that you would have seen where the turn signals would have been in those hood scoops in those 60s, late 60s, early 70s Chargers. This vehicle has a kind of a curved and designed detailed hood that is not inset. It is a curved hood with some detail bringing the lines down from the A-pillars, but it does not have that iconic inset that you saw in the previous generation. Now when you move around to the side, this is where some other significant changes are in the way that they've blended the front and the back of the car. Because they've curved both the front and the back, you've lost that crisp line in the back fender that squares off the back of the Charger in the 12 to 14 model. So our 13 is a lot squarer. It has a view on it that is more muscular, in my opinion, a little tougher, a little more aggressive. And this car is a little bit softer in its view, in my personal opinion. Also, notice that back fender where the bumper meets the back of the bottom of the quarter panel has a diagonal line now, which it did not have in 2013 and 14. And this line bothers me personally from a design perspective. As a graphic designer and a visual designer for a long time, I just don't engage with that line very well. I don't think it blends with the car as well as it did in 2012, 13, and 14. So I much prefer the back end treatment on the side quarter panels on our version that we own personally, and maybe I'm a little bit biased. Now also notice that the side, you have these new lights in the fender wheel openings, that's where your marker lights are now. Now they don't flash, they're just marker lights. And we also noticed that they're a very different placement than the previous gen, where we didn't have front marker lights and on the side of the body at all in the front, and in the back it was a rectangular light design put into the lower portion of the polymer part of the rear bumper where it met the quarter panel. So bunch of change really. And also notice the wheel difference from 2012, 13, 14 now to this 2015. And these wheels on the 15 I quite like. These are I believe these are the 19-inch wheels that are new for the 2015 year. Point is that I do like the wheel design, and when we bought our 13 all-wheel drive RT, you couldn't get a different wheel package. Shortly after that, with the black top and some of the other things, you could get different wheel packages, but mainly you've had to reserve to having the rear-wheel drive to have a bunch of wheel choices on these Charger all-wheel drives. You could only get one and then sometimes maybe two optional wheels, and they're typically 19-inch rims because of the type of all-wheel drive setup that you have in the car. And what's interesting is that the option group here does not actually tell you what kind of wheels that they put on it. So I believe these are the standard Charger wheels. Now, moving around to the back of the car, this is another pretty shocking part, if you will, or impactful design change. The hoop light has gone from being the over 100 LED lights in the hoop light to being a pipe light design like the Dodge Dart. It is also more like the Dart in terms of being curved around. It has that rounded perspective, and the light has been squished a little bit from top to bottom, and more it's less defined in terms of being a boxy structure or a boxy hoop. It is now more of I almost want to call it an impressionistic kind of hoop design. And it is nice. It looks nice. The badging's nice. But again, I think it's taken some of the edginess out of the car. And we felt like this a little bit, you know, consumers kind of engaged like this a little bit too with the redesign to the Chrysler 300 the first time around. That first gen Chrysler 300 was muscly. It had some angles on the sides of the car here at the beltline detail, real short window area, greenhouse area, and it just captured people. And then they rounded it off in the next generation, and I think for some people it wasn't as attractive, and I think they've now gotten back to a 300 that I actually like quite a bit. We just did our first impressions. We did a funny title to it, or a real quick video really, where we were out at a drive event, and you know, we said young buyers beware, because I think it now appeals back to the younger generation again. This car is I think going to be in that transition. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in another 3 or 4 years when they have to redesign the whole thing again. I am not as happy with the back end of this car personally. I like the 12, 13, 14 design a lot better from a comparison perspective. We'd love to hear consumer feedback out there, because we still think this is an excellent vehicle, and it's just hard to consider trading in the 13 for a 15, especially now that you can't get the V8 in the all-wheel drive, which here in Colorado is an amazing vehicle to have V8 power and then still be able to drive it around in the snow and the ice and everything, and have that rumble and everything. Now, going into the inside here, the comparison is not all that different. The inside is a pretty standard Charger interior, if you will. It's been this way for several years. The biggest differences you're going to notice are the handle shifter in the console versus the 5-speed automatic that we have in our 2013 RT all-wheel drive, and then in the 2013 V6 we tested, it had the E-shifter, which, you know, from a lot of review perspectives just was not very popular. It was kind of this trigger shifter that didn't really move, it just pivoted. This is an actual shifter that you can shift into different gears, and you can pull it over into the manual mode and shift up and down when you are out doing some sporty driving. Also, in this V6 we have because we have the rally package, we do have the paddle shifters just like we did in the 13 that we saw with the blacktop package. The interior differences really, other than the shifter and the new Wi-Fi in the car for the Uconnect and the upgrade Uconnect system with the app that you can use that we don't have in our 2013. So they have done some nice upgrades there. Otherwise, still the 8.4 screen, is the gauge cluster. Now the gauge cluster is pretty different. The gauges are a little bit smaller. The number styling is different. The gauge wrap in terms of the design is different. In the red, it's still the same kind of colors, it's just not the same styling. And you have a much bigger center display now, so this whole thing has been changed, and it'll be very similar to what you're seeing in even the Jeep brand, and it'll be similar to the Dodge Dart, and so on and so forth. So this new steering wheel as well, with the bigger controls that we've seen in the Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge family. This wheel is actually easier to use than our 2013 models we looked at. I like it better. It's easier to see what you're doing. It's easier to hit the buttons. And if you had the adaptive cruise, it would be easier to find those than it is in the current, or in the generation that we own. So I like this vehicle a lot from the inside. This also in 2015 has the optional two-tone interior. We had that in our 13. We had the tan with the black. This is a new option set with an off-white cream, and then they call it a pearl interior with the black, and then this kind of cinnamon or medium brown kind of piping or stitching detail that goes along the detail areas of the interior. So you'll see that on the seats. The seats are very well detailed. They're still comfortable. They feel pretty much the same as the 13 that we've tested and the one that we own, and they're holding up well. The leather on those seats, now that we've had that car 2 years, is holding up well, and we'll be doing an update review very soon on that car. So this vehicle, from all intents and purposes, from an exterior interior perspective, is it's a very different kind of shift to me to get from the previous gen to this one, because it is a drastic look. And the people we know that have looked at the two cars side by side, basically they either love the 15 or they don't. And so I think that may be the reaction out in the consumer market, is that you either just engage with it, or you wish that you're going to keep the other one, or you wish you'd bought the other one, or you might look at the 14 instead. So the performance aspects of the cars really haven't changed. So just to go through the numbers, starting with the SXT Plus in 2015, the all-wheel drive will get the same mileage as it did before in previous gens, 21 combined, 18 city, 27 highway. That compares to our 2013 all-wheel drive with the V8 HEMI of 15 in the city, 23 highway, 18 combined. So you're seeing about a 3 mile per gallon combined difference between our HEMI and this V6 all-wheel drive. And you're seeing about a 4 mile per gallon difference on the highway, and only about a 3 mile per gallon difference on the city mileage. So the 0 to 60 times will be about a second apart, and you don't get that rumble. But generally the V6 is a great buy. And so since you can only buy an all-wheel drive now in the V6 configuration, this is going to be a great car for people who really want the new design and want to buy a new Charger. So it is still a great performance car. The mileage is decent. Now, if you were looking at the SXT Plus rear-wheel drive, you would be doing 19 city, 31 highway, and that is right around that. If I remember right, it's about a 25 mile per gallon combined, somewhere in there. So this is a pretty good kind of spread of comparison, we think, so that you can get the details between the different cars. It's nice to have the apps in the new car. They brought that in 14, and they've refined it in 15. You have the Wi-Fi in the car for 15, and I believe you can get that in 14 as well. The new gauge cluster is superior to the 13, 14 models. I love the color display. I love how easy it is to shift through it and look at things. The design of it, just the engagement, the view is much higher end. It competes better in the market. So that is nice to have, and it's something that we're going to have to live without here at Real Auto Reports, because we really love our HEMI. And that's a testament to Dodge. You know, honestly, to the Chrysler Dodge family, it's a testament that we love our car so much that we're just going to have to hold out and see what happens down the road with other vehicles. Heck, maybe we'll have to buy a rear-wheel drive Challenger, you know, to have some other fun with down in the future, and then keep our all-wheel drive Charger. So this is the comparison. You know, V6 is a great engine. This Pentastar is a great engine. We also have tested it in the Jeep and in the Chrysler family, in the Ram truck brand. So this is a well-tested engine, and it will serve you very well. And if you're a little bit more mileage conscious, it'll give you the look in this car and the feel. Now, something else that I wanted to mention from a comparison perspective is that this particular 15 does not have the tech packages that our RT all-wheel drive Max package does. You don't have the adaptive cruise, you don't have the cooled cup and heated cup holders, and you don't have the adjustable pedals in the model we're testing at $38,475. That compares to the V6 in 2013, the rear-wheel drive we tested, which did have the cooled cup holders, but didn't have I don't believe it had the adjustable pedals, but it did have the rain sensing windshield, which this one doesn't. I actually have the wipers on right now just to clear the windshield. Our RT Max has all of those. It has adaptive cruise, it has the adjustable pedals, the heated and cooled cup holders. So there are some differences in these packages. Our Max, well, we deleted 2 options, so it was a little bit cheaper. $40,195 was its MSRP for the RT all-wheel drive HEMI. In 13, with those 2 deleted options, you'll be a little bit over $41,000 if you add the sunroof and the rear spoiler. In the SXT Plus we saw in 13, we were $37,910 for the rear-wheel drive and the blacktop package, which was like this rally package that added the 300 horsepower as opposed to the 292 standard out of the V6. Well, I'm Jonathan Malone McGrew for Real Auto Reports, right out here at a very wet Real Auto Ranch here in Colorado. Thanks for sticking through it with us, since we can't video outside of the car with all this rain and the flooding, but we will have more reviews for you down the road. Like our Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us some comments, tell us what you think, and we will see you down the road.